You won't believe what happened to me the other day. I was in this quaint little coffee shop downtown, the one with the killer mochas and those sinfully delicious raspberry scones, just minding my own business. And who walks in? Alex. Yeah, Alex from college. The same Alex I had this crazy, intense thing with what feels like a lifetime ago. My heart did this weird leap thing, you know? Despite the wedding ring snug on my finger. Next day, my phone buzzes with a text from him. Hey, it's been ages. Dinner tonight? For old time's sake? My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I mean, I'm married, right? But curiosity, that sneaky cat, got the better of me. Sure. Why not? I replied, convincing myself it was just as friends. So, dinner. We end up at this cozy Italian place, and Alex is all charm and smirks, reminiscing about our college shenanigans. And I'm there, laughing a bit too loud, feeling this rush like I haven't in years. Mark, my husband, he's great, but it's been a while since we've had sparks flying. With Alex, it's like someone reignited a bonfire. It didn't stop at dinner, though. We started seeing each other more, under the guise of catching up. I found myself feeding Mark these little white lies about working late. Each secret meeting with Alex felt like we were adding fuel to a fire that was supposed to have died down a long time ago. Then, one evening, Alex kissed me. We were in his car, parked under the shadow of an old oak, and I didn't stop him. The guilt was there, a faint whisper, but drowned out by the sheer exhilaration of the moment. That's when the affair started. I kept telling myself it was just a temporary escape from the everyday blah of marriage. Our rendezvous grew bolder, more reckless. But Mark, he started to pick up on something. He'd notice my late returns, the way I'd jump at my phone's every buzz. One night, he cornered me, his eyes searching mine for an explanation. What's going on with you? He demanded. I stumbled over my words, denying anything was wrong, but our first major fight erupted right there. The thrill of the secret with Alex, it was intoxicating, but lying to Mark, seeing the trust crumble between us, it was like watching a car crash in slow motion. I was torn, caught between the past and the present, between excitement and stability. And the worst part? I had no idea how to stop the collision course I was on. Let's get away for the weekend, Alex said, his eyes sparkling with the promise of an adventure, a break from the monotony of daily life. I hesitated, the weight of my wedding ring suddenly feeling heavier. But the thrill of being with him, the escape it offered, was too tempting. I've got a work conference, I lied smoothly to Mark, feeling a stab of guilt as he nodded, trusting me completely. The weekend was a whirlwind, intoxicating in its intensity. With Alex, every moment felt heightened, every touch electric. It was an escape, yes, but as the hours slipped by, I found myself caught in a current too strong to fight. I was falling for him, hard, and the reality of what that meant for my marriage loomed over me, a dark cloud threatening to burst. Coming home was like stepping into a different world. Mark's face when I walked through the door was a mix of relief and suspicion. Then he found it, the hotel receipt I'd carelessly left in my bag. His hands shook as he held it up, his voice barely a whisper. What is this? The confrontation was inevitable. The truth spilled out, messy and painful. Mark's devastation was palpable, his pain a physical force that threatened to suffocate me. Who is it? He asked, already knowing the answer. Is it him, Alex? I nodded, the word, yes, feeling like a betrayal. Then came the ultimatum, me or him. In a moment of sheer panic, fueled by a misguided belief that Mark and I could somehow navigate through this, I chose Alex. Moving out was surreal. Mark's heartbreak was a constant echo in my mind, but I pushed it away, convincing myself that this was for the best, that happiness with Alex was worth the sacrifice. Yet, as the novelty of our new life together began to fade, so did the illusion of our perfect future. Living with Alex wasn't the dream I'd thought it would be. The adventure turned mundane, and his attention started drifting. I could feel him pulling away, the connection we had fraying at the edges. Then, the bombshell, I wasn't the only one. Alex was seeing someone else. The revelation shattered me, yet I couldn't let him see the depth of my pain. My pride wouldn't allow it. The fall from grace was brutal. The life I'd envisioned with Alex crumbled before my eyes, leaving me to confront the harsh truth of my choices. I'd gambled everything on a fantasy, and now, as I stood amidst the wreckage of my decisions, the reality was a bitter pill to swallow. The adventure was over, and all that remained was the echo of what could have been, a haunting reminder of the cost of chasing a mirage. So, there I was, standing outside the house I used to call home, my heart pounding in my chest like it was trying to break free. I'd left everything behind for a dream that turned into a nightmare, and now, here I was, desperate to find some shred of the life I'd thrown away. The moment I stepped inside, I barely recognized the place. Bottles everywhere, the air thick with the smell of alcohol. It was like walking into the aftermath of a storm. I called out for Mark, my voice echoing in the emptiness. When he finally appeared, the man standing before me was a shadow of the husband I'd left behind. His eyes, once so warm and inviting, now held a mix of sorrow and disdain that cut through me like a knife. "Mark, please, we need to talk," I pleaded. But he turned away, his silence louder than any words could ever be. I tried, God knows I tried, to bridge the gap between us. I offered help, support, anything to bring back even a shadow of the man I'd loved. But Mark was distant, unreachable. The neighbors, once friendly faces, now whispered as I passed, their words a constant reminder of the role I played in his downfall. Feeling like a ghost in my own life, I attempted to piece together what was left. Friends who I thought would be there for me had turned their backs, choosing sides in a battle I'd never meant to start. Work became a place to hide, but without the anchor of my personal life, it all felt so meaningless. Then, one day, I saw Alex. He was in town, laughing carefree with someone new by his side. The sight of them together was a harsh reminder of the chaos I'd left in my wake, the pain I'd caused, and the lives I'd upended. It was a moment of crushing realization. My actions had consequences that stretched far beyond my own selfish desires. In search of some solace, some way to make amends, I found myself at a support group for people dealing with broken relationships. Sitting in that circle, sharing my story, I felt the weight of my choices but also a flicker of hope. Maybe this was where my journey to redemption would begin. Despite my efforts, my attempts to reconnect with Mark were met with silence. His sister, when I finally tracked her down, told me he'd moved away to start anew, leaving no forwarding address. The finality of her words was a closing door, the end of a chapter I'd never get to rewrite. Standing at the edge of this precipice, looking back at the wreckage of my past, I realized the path to forgiveness, to redemption, was going to be a long one. Maybe Mark had found his way out of the darkness I'd left him in, and as much as it pained me, I knew I had to let him go, to find my own way out of the shadows. The journey ahead was mine alone. A path marked by the lessons of a past I could never change but hoped, one day, to understand and forgive. Ever had that feeling where every step you take feels like you're moving through quicksand? That's been my life lately. The realization of what I've done, the full weight of my actions, it's like a shadow I can't shake off. Losing Mark. The life we built together, it's a constant ache, a reminder of the betrayal that came so easily to me then but haunts me now. In a desperate attempt to find some sort of redemption, I started volunteering. Soup kitchens, shelters, anywhere that would take me. But every time I help someone, it feels like I'm just trying to put a band-aid on a wound that's way too deep. My guilt, it's this vast ocean, and I'm out here, throwing in tiny pebbles, hoping to make it fill up. Then, one day, a mutual friend drops the news like a bomb. Mark's doing better, found some peace in a new town, working on his recovery. You'd think I'd be happy, right? But no, it's like this bitter pill I can't swallow. I'm glad for him, really, but it also feels like I'm mourning someone who's still alive. My actions drove him to his lowest, and now he's clawing his way back up without me. So, I made a decision. It's time to leave, to start over somewhere new. This town, it's just filled with too many memories, too many judgments. I need a blank slate, a place where nobody knows my story, my mistakes. Packing up was like reliving every moment, every decision. Then, I found it, a photo of Mark and me, from a time when smiles were easy and love was simple. It hit me hard, the realization that some things, once broken, can never really be put back together. My last night in town, I wandered past all our old spots. The coffee shop where we had our first date, the park bench where he proposed. It felt like I was walking through a museum of my own happiness, now just echoes of a past life. The night air was thick with goodbyes, each step a farewell to a chapter of my life I closed with my own hands. Before I left, I wrote Mark a letter. It was everything I couldn't say out loud, an apology, an explanation, a farewell. I left it with his sister, not really expecting a reply, but needing him to know that I was sorry, that I understood the pain I caused, and that I wished him all the happiness he deserves, happiness I know now I can't be a part of. The morning I left, the town was shrouded in mist, like it was hiding from the dawn. I drove out with my life packed in boxes, a heart heavy with regrets, and a hope that maybe, just maybe, starting anew was the first step towards forgiving myself. The road stretched out before me, leading to a future uncertain, but it was a path I had to take. For Mark, for me, for the chance at redemption, however distant it might seem. The moment I hit the road out of town, it felt like I was leaving a part of myself behind. The car was stuffed with all my belongings, but it felt empty, kind of like how I felt inside. Every mile marker was a reminder of the distance I was putting between my past and my potential future. My heart was a mess of regret and hope, a weird cocktail of emotions I couldn't shake off. Landing in a new city was like stepping onto another planet. Here, nobody knew my story, my failures, or the chaos I'd left behind. It was freeing, but in a bittersweet way. That taste of freedom was tinged with the reality of my choices, a constant reminder of everything and everyone I'd lost along the way. Starting a new job was my next step. I was the new girl, a fresh face among many, and while my coworkers were nothing but welcoming, I kept my guard up. I was friendly, sure, but always careful to maintain a distance. The fear of repeating my past mistakes was a shadow that followed me everywhere, coloring even the simplest interactions. Then, one idle evening scrolling through social media, I saw it. Alex, my ex-lover, the man I'd risked it all for, was engaged. Surprisingly, the news didn't sting as much as I thought it would. Instead, it felt like the universe's way of telling me that chapter of my life was truly over. It was closure, a sign to move forward. Nights were the hardest. The silence of my apartment was a stark contrast to the chaos of my thoughts. I'd replay everything, wondering how different things might have been if I'd made other choices. Yet, amidst the pain, I began to see my journey differently. It was teaching me, shaping me into someone new. Seeking a creative outlet, I joined a local art class. Painting became my refuge, a way to express all those swirling emotions I couldn't quite articulate. With each stroke of the brush, I found pieces of myself I thought were lost. My canvases were a riot of color, each one telling a story of loss, love, and the journey to find myself again. As months turned into years, I slowly built a new life in this city. It was quiet, uneventful even, but it was mine. Yet, no matter how much time passed, the shadows of my past were always there, lurking in the background. They colored my days with what-ifs and could-have-beens. But rather than let them haunt me, I learned to live with them, to accept them as part of who I am now. This new life wasn't what I'd imagined for myself all those years ago, but it was real. It was a testament to the fact that we can endure, adapt, and grow, even from our lowest points. The journey was far from easy, filled with moments of doubt and loneliness, but it was mine. And somehow, that made all the difference. Just when I thought the chapters of my past were sealed, a letter from Mark's sister landed in my mailbox, stirring up a whirlwind of emotions I thought I'd packed away. She wrote about Mark, how he's been doing well, found peace, and even forgiveness for me. But the words that hit hardest were about his wish not to reconnect. It was a closure, but not the kind you celebrate. It was the kind that leaves a bittersweet taste in your mouth. In an attempt to find some redemption, some way to make up for the chaos I'd caused, I threw myself into volunteering. There's this local shelter that became my refuge, helping those in need. Seeing their struggles, and being part of their journey towards something better offered me a semblance of peace. It's funny how helping others can sometimes help us heal our own wounds. Work was. Well, it was work. But then, something unexpected happened. A colleague, maybe sensing the loneliness that I wore like a second skin, asked me out for coffee. I hesitated, memories of past mistakes making me wary of forming new connections. But something, maybe hope or just sheer desperation for a change, nudged me to accept. That coffee meeting turned out to be more than just a casual catch-up. It blossomed into a friendship, the first real connection I'd made since my life turned upside down. It was a reminder that not everything was lost, that new beginnings were possible, and maybe, just maybe, I could find my way back to feeling whole again. Inspired by this newfound hope, I stumbled upon a support group for alcoholics and their families. Mark was out of reach, but I thought understanding his battle might somehow bring me closer to forgiving myself. The stories shared in those meetings were eye-openers, showing me the depth of pain I'd contributed to. It was a tough pill to swallow, but it was also the start of my journey towards self-forgiveness. Amidst this journey, I found solace in writing. I started a blog, a space where I could share my story anonymously. It was cathartic, pouring my heart and soul into words, and soon, I started receiving messages from others in similar situations. Knowing I wasn't alone, that my experiences could offer solace to someone else, it was a small comfort in the grand scheme of things. A year has passed since I uprooted my life and started anew. I've settled into a routine, a new normal that's a far cry from the turmoil of my past. But the shadows of what was still linger, a constant reminder of the road I've traveled. Learning to live with my past, embracing it as part of who I am, has been a challenge. Yet, with each day, with every small victory and moment of connection, I'm finding my way. The journey's far from over, but for the first time in a long time, I'm hopeful about where it might lead. Guess what? I did something crazy. I put together a small exhibit of my paintings. Yeah, those swirls of emotions and colors have been messing around with finally got their moment in the spotlight. It was my way of shouting to the world, or maybe just whispering to myself, that I've come a long way. That night, standing there among my canvases, each one a diary entry of my journey, I felt this surge of accomplishment. For the first time in what felt like forever, I was proud of myself. My art, raw and real, told my story better than words ever could. And you know what? The exhibit was a hit. People actually got it. They saw the pain, the hope, the healing. It was like my soul was on display, and instead of judgment, I found understanding. That feeling, that connection, it was something I hadn't felt in too long. After the exhibit, I did something I never thought I'd have the courage to do. I went to Mark's new town. No, I didn't go to see him, didn't even try to reach out. I just wanted to see, from a distance, that he was okay. And he was. Seeing him from afar, looking content and peaceful, it was all I ever wanted for him. It was closure, the real kind, the kind that lets you breathe again. Coming back from that trip, something in me shifted. I realized that while my past, with all its mistakes and heartaches, is a part of me, it doesn't define me. I made a promise to myself to live a life of purpose, to make my second chance count. Not long after, life presented me with an opportunity to mentor a young woman who was going through a tough time. Sharing my story with her, guiding her through her own rough patch, it gave my experiences a purpose. It was like all the pain had a reason, like it was preparing me to be there for her. And amidst all of this, I found joy again. Real joy. In the laughter shared with friends, in the tranquility of a quiet evening, in the breathtaking beauty of a sunset. Those moments became my treasures. They reminded me that life, despite its ups and downs, is beautiful. Reflecting on my journey, I've come to understand the cost of my choices. My life, forever changed by the decisions I made, is now a story of resilience, of finding my way out of the darkness. It's not a story of a fall. It's a story of rising, of rebuilding, of moving forward, one step at a time. So here I am, sharing this with you, not as a confession but as a testament to the fact that it's possible to come back from the brink, to find light after the darkest of nights. My journey isn't over. In many ways, it's just beginning. But now, I walk it with a heart full of hope and a spirit that's been through the storm and come out